Now let's get into the Joe Budden and Drake drama as it continues. I talked about in the last episode how Joe Budden basically wasn't hating, at least in my eyes. I watched the full podcast where he was reviewing Drake's album, and overall he just said, he needs to mature making music, and I said this on the last podcast, and I've been seeing it, on Twitter and social media, basically, that it feels like Drake has reversed his career. He started out really mature with the music and has gotten more, I guess, I don't know what to say it, maybe more for the youth, that type of music that's not, as storytelling and bars, driven. Even though he has a couple of tracks like that on there, for the most part, songs like I Don't Give a Fuck with Yeet, which actually I'm starting to enjoy a lot more. In my review, I know I said it's starting to become one of my favorites, it's a good track, but now I'm turning into great. I'm actually enjoying it. I'm seeing it all over TikTok. So, those songs it doesn't bother me that Drake does those type of records, but, when it's all over the album and just the album isn't really cohesive and long tracks and, I already reviewed it. So anyways, Joe Budden said that basically, hey, you're doing immature music for your age, make music your age. But he also said something that was outside of the music, and he's like, why are you dating like 25-year-olds too? Like that type of stuff, which Drake apparently that's where Drake took real offense at, which I think is just a reason for Drake to respond to Joe Budden, to say, hey, why are you attacking me? Because because he says, I don't really care about your opinion, whether you like the music, critique the music if you want. But the other stuff, he's like, my personal life, don't talk about it. Well, when Anthony Fantano, who only talks about the music, gave bad reviews to Drake, DM'd him. And then Anthony just didn't respond to him at all. So clearly it pokes Drake when somebody's giving you a critique of music. And that should poke, it should have not offend, but it should bother everybody. Like every human being is going to get bothered by their art being out there and people saying, this is bad, this is garbage, this is trash. I don't know, calling an album garbage and trash I think is a little harsh. Not good. I guess awful is a little bit nicer. Honestly, Nevermind is a awful album. Eminem's Revival, awful album. J. Cole, For Your Eyes Only, awful album. There's always artists that have awful albums. Always. It depends on how long of a career you have. But regardless, that's what he said. Drake then responded in the comments basically saying you're a failure as a rapper and that, this is all you do. This is what pays your bills, becoming a podcaster. You could never, when you retired musically, your jersey wasn't hung up. Nobody even remembers your number, because in basketball, they hang your jersey when you retire if you actually accomplish something major. So he says all that, and then continuing on, Birdman ended up jumping into it. But first, Joe Budden then followed up with a new podcast episode. Let's go over the article. Budden began by reading out Drake's lengthy Instagram comment from last week, in which he fired back at the former Slaughterhouse MC for having failed at music. Budden then revealed that Drake had sent him a 55-second voice note, which after initially admitting he didn't listen to, he read out. He said this, take a chill pill. This is what Drake sent to Joe Budden. He said, take a chill pill, Anthony. Well, I think he's referring to Anthony Fantano. Have a drink, throw on some instrumentals. Maybe write one of those fellas, do your thing, let me do my thing, joints for old time's sake. A little radio play would do you some good, papa, which is kind of a weird... interjecting with some commentary, Budden said it sounds like he thinks that this is like Views beef time. I want to reiterate, I'm happier than I've ever been. I don't have beef. I don't even get the message, but cool. Budden replied to Drake's DMs by writing, I'm not sure why you went crazy like that. I like the album. This ain't 2016. I ain't got no beef. Get your shit off, though. As a matter of fact, nobody's happier for you than me. Then Drake responded by basically saying why he had a problem with what Joe Budden said. He said, because you're bringing up my friends and the bitches I fuck like you know anything about that, he wrote, according to Budden. Budden, keep it music. I don't give a fuck what you listen to in your free time because the people's opinion I care about don't have free time. He said, see, still it's another jab. Why do you feel like you need to? Not only do you not have to do this right now, but it don't work on me, but it's fine. I also don't care if you like or dislike something, but don't talk about my life and shit like you're trying to plant some seed or paint some narrative and turn people against me. Talk about the music. If you hate it, you hate it. If you talk about I'm out here fucking 25-year-olds, oh, this is personal, so I won't read that one. That shit feels malicious to me, and I don't do well with that. Drake also threw shade at Budden's co-host Parks, writing, "Your nerd co-host can sit and talk about gangsta this and that, but you know how we get down, so keep it journalistic, jabronis." After reading the messages, Joe said he's tired of people thinking he's a Drake hater, while his co-host confirmed that he's shown plenty of love to the OVO hitmaker over the years. That's the problem. If you don't like anything in today's time, all of a sudden you're a hater. I get labeled as a Drake hater. Why? Because I don't agree that a Billboard #1 that only stays there for a week shouldn't be a #1. I apply that to every artist, every single artist, whether it's Drake, whether it's J. Cole, Kendrick, Eminem, Kanye, whoever the fuck. If 50 right now dropped an album, Street King Immortal, got a #1, boom, shot rocked to #1, only stayed at #1 for a week, it's not a #1. I don't care what artist does it. That just Drake always gets that more, so I mentioned Drake mostly because he's just the type that gets those hot shot #1s and then they fall off. Now I'm not saying all those tracks that he's got #1 were like that, but so I'm not a Drake hater. I just went over Drake's catalog. I love Drake. I think Drake is one of the greatest artists of all time, period. Not just in hip hop, but of all time. He is that talented. The fact that he had this longevity for this long is just, like that should be something that's saluted, commended, respected, and forever. And Drake's still young, man, 37, just about to turn 37. So, he's got a long career ahead of him, and hip hop's not going anywhere for a while. It is slumming in sales, but for a while, Drake's going to be good. And Drake, has earned the right to be one of the greatest of all time. He's been put in the work. He's delivered hits for other people himself. So, I never, that's the problem. Joe Budden too. Like they'll take a clip and just boom, you're a hater. And Joe Budden's shown insane love to Drake. Calls him the golden child of hip hop. So I've done the same. It's just people hear the little critique that you have of somebody. People hear that and automatically label you a hater. A hater is somebody that dislikes someone or something for literally no reason. That's a hater. When you're hating just for no reason, just the fact that you just want to hate on the person. That's hating. And I've never done that. I can't remember. Now, with Rick Ross, William Roberts, I troll. Now, do I hate the guy? No. There's some music I enjoy from him, even after I found out he's a police officer. I still enjoyed some records. Aston Martin music, God Forgives I Don't. The album's pretty good. 9/11, all these records that he has, So Sophisticated on Meek Mill. He's got records. Usual Suspect, which is on Deeper Than Rap, the album that he was beefing with 50 with that he dropped. I think it's called Unusual Suspects with Nas. That's one of my favorites from Ross. So I don't hate. Like if I don't have like this utter, like hate is like a strong word, guys. So just calling people haters, I disagree with that. And always if you see a clip and you're trying to question what it is, watch the full thing, man. And if it's super long, take your time. Take a couple days to watch it or whatever the case may be. I never go off of clips. I will not comment on a clip unless I've seen the full thing. I don't think I ever have, honestly. I could be wrong. Now, granted, it's social media. I've been on social media for a minute, since like 2009, I want to say. Well, I mean, if you counted Facebook and MySpace, then earlier, but, like Twitter and then Instagram and then, actively on these things since 2009. So, there could have been moments where I commented on a clip, but that was when I was younger, when I was a teenager, a kid, basically. So it's different then, if you're a kid, it kind of makes more sense because you're not, you haven't fully developed. So, you just kind of take things for what they are. But me, especially with the job that I do, like news and all this stuff, I got to make sure what I'm talking about is as accurate as possible, guys. And I mentioned this earlier on the podcast. But, yeah, Birdman started jumping in. This was what Joe Budden responded to right here was actually today. Birdman jumped in about 2 days ago as well. He checked basically Joe Budden and Charlemagne for the disrespect. He posted a picture of Charlemagne on his story and said, "I think you mean good and I respect you even though we had our difference, but I respect you." He mentioned it twice, even though I respect you. He said, "I think you mean good and I respect you even though we had our difference, but I respect you, Charlemagne, but respect Champagne Poppy." And then he says, which is Drake's Instagram name. And then he posts a photo of Joe Budden and said, "Joe Budden, calm down, brother. You're not built for this real gangsta shit." Which I don't understand why he gets aggressive and gangsta. And like, bro, people can give. This is my problem with hip hop, man. Only in hip hop does this happen. People review albums or just review music get threatened. It's like, bro, like we can have an opinion on music. You're not supposed to threaten people for their opinion. That's just stupid. So I disagree with Birdman on this, but he didn't even watch probably the full clip. He just saw that clip and you were just like, because if you watch the full thing, Joe Budden's not hating.